And good evening, friends. Welcome to this edition of Bishop and the Rabbi. Look at this. They got a cool thing for my computer. Isn't that cool? I went out of town and boom, I came back and they had that very cool thing for the computer. Hope everybody's doing well. Great to be together tonight. Go ahead and sign in. Tell us who's on and where you're watching from. I can see folks signing in already. We've got Terry here. She's always first. Terry, I don't know what it's going to take to knock you out of first place. I don't know how that would be possible because you're always the first on. Laverne is with us from Brooklyn. Terry is here from Columbus, Indiana. Kristen from Orchard Park. Trisha from Southwest Florida. And Hag Purim Sameach. It is Purim. And did you know that, here we go. Well, we'll ask the rabbi about this, but on Purim, you're actually instructed to get drunk. So I don't know what we're going to do about that tonight. We'll have to see how deeply we're taking this Jewish roots question. But that's something we'll ask the rabbi about. We'll talk about that. All right. Amy is here from Baltimore. Rebecca from Buffalo, New York. Hi, Mom from Boyertown, Pennsylvania. Deborah Lester, Lancaster. Rachel from Geneva, good evening. Ann Jones, Wernersville, Pennsylvania. Where is Wernersville? I've been all over Pennsylvania. Is that near Allentown? Hey, Brother Frank from Alabama. I just dropped you a note in the mail today, Frank. So be looking for that. It should get to you soon. Can everybody do me a favor and hit the share button? All right? Hit the share button. And yes, Laverne, I don't know, Laverne, if Hamantashen is actually biblical. I don't know. We'll get into the cookies. The culinary and beverage requirements of Purim will be our discussion tonight. Ken is here from Eden. What a great group. Hey, folks, help us out right now. Hit the share button quickly so we can fill the room up. That'd be super helpful. Let me go through some fast announcements. This Saturday, the 19th at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, we are offering free for all of our Eagles Wings partners our Heckler Legacy Society Financial Planning Ministries webinar. These are professional services contracted for you at no cost or charge to you. And 100% confidential. This doesn't go through Eagles Wings. It's an outside firm. But if you need to look at things like your healthcare proxy and how do you avoid probate and how do you take care of your children in the event of your demise, all of these kinds of things are handled by Financial Planning Ministries. We just had a great group here at the Tabernacle walk through this. They're one of the top firms in the country. They have currently helped over, I think it's 20,000 Christians go through this full program, and it is free. That is a free service to you. Joseph is with us from Katy, Texas. Aaron has signed in from Ohio. So that is this Saturday. Go to eagleswings.org/legacy event. And I'm sure they're typing that in right now to the comments. All right. So eagleswings.org/legacy event. That is this Saturday. Then also the Psalms course is open. Almost 200 of you have already signed up for it. Type in if you've signed up, if you've gotten your book, let us know about that. And you can go to psalmsmasterclass.com to register for that. You can take it at your own leisure. It's 12 different sessions. There's also an incredible book that comes with that. And that is by the master of the Psalms, Reuben Abraimoff, an amazing, amazing teacher. You're going to want to get to be a part of that, psalmsmasterclass.com. Los Angeles Celebrates Israel is coming up April the 3rd. April the 3rd. We're going to be in Los Angeles in Compton. So all of you in that area, please plan on joining us and being with us. East Coast Conference, July 14th through the 17th. Go to eagleswings.org/ECC 2022 to sign up for that. Bonnie says that she is already enjoying the Psalms class. And Amy says that she got her book already in the mail. Amy, wasn't the book beautiful? I mean, the book is like a work of art. It's on my table in my formal dining room. It is absolutely beautiful. Hey, Luis. Luis is with us from Boston. What a great group we've got tonight. My goodness. People from everywhere. And finally, join me in Israel. We're going back September the 27th. Do not miss it. The trip of a lifetime. So we really encourage you to join and be a part of that with us. Go to eagleswings.org. Sign up for the trip this September 27th. It's going to be absolutely amazing. Hello, Janine. Stefan is on. God bless you, Janine. What a great group we have tonight. All right, everybody. We are going to dive right into it. We have one of our dear, dear friends. He is making a return appearance on Bishop and the Rabbi. In fact, he's got a fan club because I already looked up in the comments and they said, oh, we're so glad that Rabbi Sherman is back. You remember him, you know of him. He is a warm, engaging, strong leader in the Jewish people. It's amazing. He and his wife are both rabbis and both work, I believe, at the same temple. So that's incredible to be linked in ministry like that together. And we're just so encouraged and so honored, really, that he is back with us. Okay, Wernersville is west of Reading, Pennsylvania. All right, near Boyertown. So whoever was from Wernersville, you've got fellow watchers in your neighborhood there. Janice Kemp from Fort Myers. God bless you, Janice. I also just dropped you a note in the mail today. So grateful for all of our partners. And if you've not yet become a partner with Eagles Wings, would you consider doing that? It's the only way that we move forward this mission all across America, all around the world. You can go to eagleswings.org/donate. There's 4 different levels of partnership, but just $18 a month, which is about 65 cents a day, gets you linked up and makes you a part of this tribe, a part of this family, helping us to move forward this very critical work of standing with our Jewish brothers and sisters, fighting anti-Semitism, and standing strong with the state of Israel. So we're so excited about that. And what an incredible group here tonight. My goodness, people from all over the place. All right, without any further ado, let's go live to Los Angeles, California. And here he is. I mean, you're looking like Rabbi Hollywood tonight there, sir. You are all dressed up and looking great. Rabbi Erez Sherman, welcome back to Bishop and the Rabbi.
Thank you. It's so great to see you, especially on this holiday of Purim. I was actually doing a little Hamantashen research, so I don't know if you want to hop right in there for Purim. There's some good stuff there.
All right. Well, tell us a little bit about that. So, of course, we're in Purim, which is the celebration of the story of Queen Esther and the salvation of the Jewish people through her ingenuity and through, of course, righteous Mordecai, who stood against Haman. But why don't we start a little bit with Purim? Because we're right. This is the second. It started last night, right? This is the second
last night, and we're about to end. Yeah, I'm going to tell you the most amazing story that happened this morning that blew my mind. So every Thursday morning, there's a bar mitzvah or bat mitzvah that comes to our daily service. It's their first time that they are called up to the Torah for an honor to officially be called as the young Jewish adult. And the young man, and this morning, we not only read from the Torah, but we also read the entire scroll of Esther. And the story of Esther happens in the city of Shushan, which today is in the modern city of Hamadan in the country of Iran. And the mother of the bar mitzvah said, my family, meaning their family, is from the city of Shushan. And here was this young man there you go, I saw that face. Here was a young man celebrating his bar mitzvah in 2022 in Los Angeles, who wasn't supposed to be there because Haman was supposed to kill the Jews thousands of years ago in the city that they came from. And it gets better because there's another man who comes to the service every day, and later he sent us an email to all the clergy, and he had a live picture of him visiting the graves of Esther and Mordecai that his family used to take care of. So if that's not a miraculous biblical story to start this Purim, I don't know what is.
Oh my goodness! And their graves, are there graves there in? Is it called Hamadan, you said?
Yeah, I believe the city today is called Hamadan, but it was the city of Shushan. It's Shushan Habira,
Right.
the capital city of Persia. Exactly.
And their graves are still there. I mean, today.
Yeah, that's what I asked them. They have thankfully not been destroyed, and those graves of Esther and Mordecai
Incredible.
are right there. So we literally are living out the scroll of Esther today, and the victory over anti-Semitism, the victory over religious persecution, and the pride that we should all take in our religious faith.
You know, Rabbi, it never ceases to amaze me when I hear stories like this.
Mhm.
We were on just the other day with a precious Jewish lady on our Torah Tuesday class, and she was telling the story how when they were fleeing, I think it was during the pogroms in Russia, that her family moved to China, right? And
Mhm.
it was part of the Jewish diaspora in China. I mean, the story, right? You hear about the wandering Jew, you know, the Jews that were just all over the world. And it's really true. When you meet a
Mhm.
Jewish person, um, there, it's just extraordinary the level of um, how they've traveled and how their lives intertwine from just literally all around the world. And and then now, of course, in the midst of this terrible, terrible time in the Ukraine, the fact that the 200,000 Ukrainian Jews
Mhm.
have a place to go. I mean, think of all of the Ukrainian refugees who are not Jewish. And they're having to flee, right? I guess to like Poland and Romania and Belarus and try to start a life for themselves. But for the first time, really, in modern history, since World War II, the Jews have a safe place to go to where they know they're going to be absorbed with love and with care and with respect, and their traditions will be honored. I mean, that's a game changer in
Yeah.
2,000 years of Jewish history.
Yeah, and I think it's actually twofold. The first, you're right, that these Jews have a place to go. Just a couple of days ago, as I was telling you before the show, we hosted at Sinai Temple here an interfaith gathering of 20 synagogues and churches in the LA area.
Right.
And um, it was a beautiful moment of unity. And we Skyped in Rabbi Reuven Stamov, who was a classmate of mine in Jerusalem, from the Ukraine originally, grew up totally secular, and said, when I graduate rabbinical school in Jerusalem, I'm going to go back to the Ukraine and serve the Jewish community there. And he's built camps and schools and education and everything like that. And this week, his family came to Israel, and he's going back to Ukraine to help. So that's number one, that they have a safe place. But two is,
Yes.
who is on the border? The first people there were Israel, right? They were on
Right.
those borders, and there was an amazing story of a good friend. His name is Ariel Karen of Dream Clowns, and he's a medical clown in Israel. And what did he do? He went to the border of Moldova and Ukraine, and he said on this video that he showed us, he said, I'm here in honor of my grandfather Shmuel, who died, or sorry, who survived Auschwitz. I'm here because of him, because when he left, he didn't see a clown when he left. Instead, he worked hard and hard, and he said, I'm a Jew, I'm from Israel, and I'm going to bring humanity back to this world. And so it's not just that these Jews
Wow.
can go to Israel, but it's actually Israel can go to those points, and we see it over
Yeah.
and over again. Haiti and wherever a disaster happens,
Absolutely.
Israel is the first on the ground, and that I think is a beautiful theological victory as well.
Well, you know, a part of the way that they're the first on the ground, there's many different ways, but one of the primary ways is through an incredible organization called United Hatzalah, which
Absolutely.
is chaired by our dear friend Mark Gerson.
Yes.
Mark is our teacher every Tuesday on Torah Tuesdays. Folks, if you're not joining along on Torah Tuesdays, you would love the class. You can register for free. There's no charge at torahtuesdays.com. We
Nice.
study live on Tuesdays at noon. We have over 100 Jews and Christians live every week. We have people from Japan. We've got people from everywhere. But Mark just hopped on a plane. I think he's leaving in the morning, heading to Israel to help oversee and lend support to the Ukrainian refugees. And if you're an Eagles Wings partner, you got an email from us because Abraham's Bread is working very closely right now to help the refugees and reaching out. And we want to be able to send a special gift to Abraham's Bread this week. So thank you for responding to that email. Thank you, Laverne. Yes, Laverne is reminding us that this Tuesday, there is no Torah Tuesday because Mark will be there in Jerusalem. So we will take this Tuesday off. But Torah Tuesdays is an amazing time to study the Word together. And Rabbi, it's just incredible, and the resilience of the Jewish people, the example of the Jewish people, and we love learning with you, and we're so grateful. I mean, people should understand that Rabbi Sherman serves in one of the most famous synagogues, certainly in America, and maybe one of the most famous synagogues in the world. He's an extremely important leader. He's got young children. And so for him to take his time and to be with us tonight, it's a gift to us, Rabbi, and we're really grateful.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, let's dive into a little bit tonight. Well, first of all, you want to talk about Hamantashen. So
yeah,
you got to bring us back to that. What did you find out?
Yeah, I visited the preschool classrooms. It's also pretty miraculous. I hadn't been in a preschool classroom in 2 years. And the first thing we did, the Hebrew month that we're in right now is called Adar. And we say, Misha nichnas Adar marbim b'simcha. That when you enter the month of Adar, there's only one thing you're supposed to do, and you're supposed to be joyous. And there's many different ways to be joyous. So we'll start with the alcoholic piece because you asked about that as well. And the rabbinic tradition.
I'm going to get in trouble.
No. The tradition is that, obviously spirits bring joy. But there, of course, one tradition is you should be so joyous in that tradition that you should not know the difference. And I have it right here, actually, between Mordechai here, as you can see on the screen, and Haman. And these are actually the grog.
We got to have booze and hisses. We got to have booze and hisses, exactly. Virtual booze and hisses.
Exactly. And as we know, there's Hamans in each generation. I'm not going to name them right now, but we can all, of course, know who we're thinking about. But how do we bring joy? And one of those is actually through food. Jews are really good at eating. And Hamantashen, there's two different things. One, mun in Yiddish is actually poppy seed. So some of them are filled with poppy seed or Hamantashen. But another one, a beautiful thing that I just read actually was that man or manna that the Israelites ate in the desert, that it's like in Haman's face. We're eating man. We're eating Haman, right? Haman, the manna. His name is the sustenance that we will eat. And another historical piece that I just read about was actually through a 13th century scholar. And I guess in the 13th century, there was a tradition that a criminal's ear was cut off for execution. And so a Hamantashen is a triangle like this, and it's known as Ozne Haman. It's the ears of Haman. And so we eat the ears of Haman because that's what we do. So lots of different traditions that get into there, but eventually you fill it with what you want. And the ultimate piece is joy, that you should bring joy. Yeah. And there's something that this world needs right now. It's joy, even with all the destruction.
Well, and I love that about Purim because it is such a joyful festival, right? People are dressing up in costumes and there's different themed parties. And like you say, a lot of food, a lot of those things going on. But it's joy against the backdrop of the very real drama, right? That Esther had to go through. And I think that encourages us to remember in the midst of the pain in our world, there is another side to this. God does bring you through. God does bring you through the difficult times, the challenging times, and you're going to get through what you're walking through. So it's a blessing for us during this season of Purim. All right, well, let's take a minute, everybody.
I want to say one more thing about that because I have a little more show and tell. I actually have a Megillah, the scroll of Esther, with me because it's from yesterday.
Oh, there it is.
And this scroll right here. There's one, it's on parchment, it's kosher animal skin, written by a Sofer scribe, and there's only one name that's not found in this Megillah, and that's God's name. God's name is hidden. But Esther, the Hebrew of Esther, actually means hidden. And as you just said, the backdrop sometimes of joy is hidden, and it's, if you wish, our job, our responsibility through this destruction, through these difficult times, it's called hastarat panim, not hide our face, but actually find God's face and to put God back in the Megillah.
Beautiful. And people don't realize that old phrase. I don't know if they say that phrase anymore, but they say the whole Megillah. They went through the whole Megillah. Nobody knows what the Megillah is. That's what the Megillah is. Show them the Megillah one more time. And
Right.
the
So
reason they say the whole Megillah is that on Purim, you have to read the entire scroll. And so that's why
right.
people say, oh my gosh, he went through the whole Megillah. That's what it's from. How many people didn't know that? And you're learning it tonight. You're learning
The
it tonight on Bishop and the
10,
Rabbi.
10
Amazing.
10 chapters, and actually in religious school and the preschool, I roll the whole thing out, and it's like the length of the classroom, and the kids are wowed by it, but they also really get the show and tell.
It's beautiful. Incredible. All right, everybody. Well, we're going to turn to our Parsha tonight. Our Parsha is Tzav, and we're in Leviticus 6 through the end of chapter 8. All right, Leviticus chapter 6, verse 1 through the end of chapter 8. And I'm excited about this portion tonight and excited to study it with you. Oh, Yelena is saying that her kids read the scroll to her last night. That's beautiful, Yelena. Yelena has enough children that you could. Yelena, I don't know how many kids you have because every time I see you, you've got more kids with you. You've got lots of children. I think you have 6 kids, Elena. You'll let us know. Joseph, you didn't know that. Well, there you go. See, you learned it. And Joseph, you're a student of Hebrew roots, and even you could learn something tonight on Bishop and the Rabbi. That is wonderful. All right, everybody. So Leviticus 6 through the end of chapter 8, Tzav. Rabbi, bring to us what is happening in this parsha and how it's relevant for us today.
So I'll focus on 2 things. The first is the word tzav. Tzav means command. We know the word mitzvah. Usually it's a good deed, but it's not that. It's a command. It's not that you have a choice to do a good deed. It's you have an obligation to do a command. And Rashi, the French commentator in the about 10th century, he says when he's commenting on the Torah that it should be urgent. And not only urgent for you, but urgent for all the generations to come. And I think that's also an important point in the last 2 years of this pandemic, which I don't know, God willing, we're coming out of, but at least we're enjoying our freedom for the moment. That it's been hard to have that urge because we actually have screens. And it's been interesting even within the Jewish community, right? I was talking to a lot of bishops and priests over the last couple of weeks. They're putting away their live stream. They're saying, you can't experience this without actually being here. I'm right in the middle. I think it's important to also see into other Jewish communities and other Christian communities. But Tzav means command, and it means to urge. There's an urgency about doing good in this world. And if we don't have that urgency, we know the alternative. And I don't think it's the place that we want to be. That's number 1. Number 2 are these sacrifices that
Let me stop you right there for a moment, Rabbi. Couple things, folks. Do us a favor, hit the share button right now if you can. If you've not done that yet, it makes a big difference. Every time you hit the share button, we see the numbers jump and the room fills up. So please hit the share button on YouTube or on Facebook right now. That's your one job tonight. And Rabbi, I want to go back to what you're saying because it's so important. That you're 2 things. You're saying the mitzvah, it's not just a good deed. It's not just like, oh, that's a nice thing I did. No, we're commanded. We're commanded in our parlance to be salt, to be light, Jesus said. In other words, we're commanded to make a difference in the atmosphere around us. And even that we're commanded to do good deeds quickly. And part of the way I knew this, there's a wonderful leader in Los Angeles. Her name is Dina Leeds, a beautiful Jewish leader. And I have Shabbat in her home. And, normally when you would pass the Shabbat cups, you think, oh, I'll pass it down and let someone else, have first. But in their tradition, the minute you get the cup, you first drink. And then when the next cup comes, then you pass. And she explained that's because you should never delay in doing what God has called you to do. So good manners don't trump God's urgency for good commands. And Rabbi, what I think you're saying to us tonight in this age of evil and darkness is that we really cannot be satisfied with neutrality. We really can't be satisfied just kind of being on the sidelines and watching the news and saying, oh my, isn't it terrible? Each of us have to be compelled to some kind of action.
Yes, both communally and individually. I think we learn that best from our children. I have 3 children, 10, 8, and 6. And I actually remember saying this the last time it was Parshat Noach when I was with you last time. And you learn a lot from your children, and you learn a lot from what they get. And I often tell our families within our school, right? You're going to give your children a religious education, whether it's in a private day school or in our supplementary religious school. That's not enough. What's enough is when you go and show your children. I call it, what they're going to get in our schools are education from books, which is lovely and important. But if you don't make it a living laboratory, I think that's where the word sav it really comes from. Sav is taking what's in the books and making it a living laboratory. I see what you do online. I see what you do with the Jewish and the Christian community. You have to do that. Otherwise, there's going to be something coming into that vacuum. And like you said, it's not the goodness, but it's things that will replace that I don't want that alternative.
Yeah, absolutely, 110%. Gerardo, welcome to you tonight from New Hope, Pennsylvania. We are glad you are here. Looks like we've got a lot of new people on tonight, so it's wonderful. Folks, utilize the chat. It's great to have, if you have questions for the rabbi, if you've got comments as we go along, and again, hit the share button. All right, Rabbi, so take us through. Where do we want to go next? Chapter 6 here. Where would you like us to start out?
So I know you mentioned the idea of, in Hebrew, smicha, which is, I guess, installation, we'll call it, or ordination.
Right.
I want to relate it to what happens today of becoming a rabbi, and but also related to what happens with Aaron. It's chapter 8. Just want to find the actual wording here for just a moment, because there's a ram offering, an ayil, and the offering that they say, it's an el miluim. By the way, in Israel, the reserve duty is called miluim, which is interesting, for the army, for the IDF. And it was the second ram offering that was brought. And then in Hebrew it says, Vayismechu Aharon uvanav et yedehem, that they placed their hands upon them. And when somebody becomes a rabbi within a seminary or yeshiva, it's actually called smicha. It literally it doesn't mean installation, but it means placing the hands upon them, transferring.
Sure.
Not that power, but I think let's go back to the word sav. Transferring the obligation to pass down this tradition from generation to generation. And the word miluim often is translated as installation, but really the commentators take it as not to fulfill one's duty, but actually a completion, a wholeness. And so the priests, the Kohanim, they are fulfilling their obligation and also completing something bigger.
You know, Rabbi, it's amazing that even until today, and I've been blessed to be at the Kotel, I think on 2 or 3 occasions, where even to this day, all of the Kohanim in the land of Israel, and this is the one, because most, and correct me, Rabbi, wherever I'm incorrect, please, but most Jews cannot say with any level of certainty, you know, what tribe they may have been from.
Right.
But the Kohanim generally can tell, if I understand it, because their last name would be Cohen or something similar, you know, Khan, a derivative of Cohen. And then, Rabbi, does that also extend to the last names of Levi? Like we know many Levis and Levis. Is that I'm never quite clear on the distinction between the Kohanim and the Levites.
Right. So it is the month of Adar, and we're going to bring joy. So I'm going to tell a quick joke because I think it's an important one. The man that comes to the rabbi and says, "Rabbi, make me a Kohen, make me a priest." And the rabbi says, "Look, I can do a lot of things in the ritual world, but I can't do that. But sir, why do you want to be a Kohen?" And he says, "Well, my dad was a Kohen, my grandfather was a Kohen, my great-grandfather, I want to be one too." Right? And the joke is, he already is. It's actually a genetic thing. It's a hereditary thing.
Right.
So you're speaking like it's amazing, because this past weekend I had a bar mitzvah and the child was a Kohen. And to know that he stood there saying the Birkat Kohanim, the priestly blessing, which we find in the book of Numbers, and his father stood there and his grandfather stood there, and we passed the Torah from one person to the other, knowing that dated back to this, Aaron becoming a high priest. The Levites are the Leviim, the Levites, also traces that lineage there. And everybody else, including myself, are Israelites, Yisraelim, and we can't really trace that lineage. But the Kohanim is still.
But what were the Levites? What's the difference between the Kohanim and the Levites?
right? So the Levites came through the line of Moses. The Aaron came through Aaron really sort of started that lineage of Kohanim, and the Levites had specific ritual obligations in the temple. One of them being
Okay.
the choir. So if you find a Levite
Right.
that can't sing, maybe we should. That's usually the test, but they had different roles within the temple, and even today, we all have a different role that we take, not just within the synagogue or the church, but within our lives. And I think it's crucial to find that role. We all can't do what the next person does, but we can do what we
Right.
do. We can become. We have to find. I think that's an important piece of tzav. Find within yourself what you are commanded to do, and take that and pass that down.
Well, and Rabbi, as you're saying, you had this bar mitzvah, and the young boy was a Cohen, and how beautiful. And as I was saying, 2 or 3 times I've been in Israel, and literally, folks, I mean, it gives you chills. Thousands and thousands of the Kohanim, the Cohen family, come from all over Israel. They stand in front of the Western Wall. They're all dressed in white, and they make the sign of the Cohen, which, by the way, is where Mr. Spock got his thing from for Star Trek. That's where the Vulcan thing came from. He had to do something on the spot. And this is the sign that they offer, and they give that blessing that goes all the way back to the scriptures. It's called the Birkat Kohanim. And there's just thousands of them that line up. What day is that, Rabbi? When does that fall on the calendar?
So it's during Passover.
It's during Pesach. So it's coming up relatively soon.
And I can prove to you that I'm not a Kohen because I cannot do that.
Rabbi, is that book on the shelf behind you one I sent you, that Israel book?
This is a great book. This where is it? This one right here,
No.
right? Story of Israel, Martin Gilbert. It's definitely the Martin Gilbert book. So yes, absolutely. It's an amazing book. It has like the facsimile documents of the Constitution and everything like that.
It's incredible. All right, everybody, this is just an amazing night. We're having a great conversation with our friend, Rabbi Erez Sherman from Temple Sinai in Los Angeles. And we are in Tzav, which deals with commands. And what we're learning tonight is that, first of all, God does not give suggestions. He gives commands. And we're obligated to do these commands, to do these good deeds. And number 2, that we should do them quickly. We should do them urgently, that we should live our life with a sense of intention and purpose and urgency. And that means shutting off other distractions. That means clearing our mind and clearing away things that would kind of take us off task. And it's just been incredible. Now, what I'd like to do, Rabbi, is actually go back just a couple chapters, if we can. And I'd like to go to chapter 6. And I'd like you to take us through verse 8 to 13. And this is the description of the fire being kept burning on the altar. And I know that this is another motif that extends even till today. I'm sure, Rabbi, that at Temple Sinai there is a Nair Tamid. I'm sure you must have one. So talk a little bit to us about this extremely important, pivotal command that God gives the Jewish people to not let the fire go out.
Absolutely. So I think there's both a physical aspect of this and a spiritual aspect of that. And I'm going to eventually connect it to the Megillah, which we'll see how that goes in a minute. Eish tamid tukad al hamizbeach, that there was a fire that should always burn. And there's interesting distinction because there's also a korban tamid. There's a sacrifice that should always happen. And the question was the light always, was the sacrifice always happening, or was it continually put there, right? And the next part of the pasuk, the verse says lo tichbeh, it should not go out. I think that is actually the most important piece of this tzav, of this command, that how can this light not be extinguished? Again, we keep speaking about this dark world, and when we say the words never forget after the Holocaust, and we're watching what's happening in Ukraine, like, how is it happening? And I see faith communities stepping up and saying, this is what, I mean, there was a synagogue in New Jersey right now that said, stop giving donations because we have so much and we're trying to just get it
Wow.
there. The fact that people are stepping up, to me, that's Eish Tamid Lo Tichbeh. That is the eternal flame that will not be extinguished. And it's happening over and over again right now in a beautiful way. My prayer is that it will continue during times that are not war. But in the Megillah, actually, at the end of the Megillah, at the end of the Purim story, when there is some joy, when Haman is eliminated, the verse in the scroll of Esther says, La Yehudim haita ora v'simcha, that the Jews will have light, ora, or. And I love that connection, maybe not explicitly, but implicitly, of this goes back to Eish Tamid to Lo Tichbeh.
Rabbi, I'm so sorry to interrupt you, but I don't want to miss this connection. Where does it say, so the Jews will have light? Where does it say that?
Right. In the Megillah, in the scroll of Esther, which we read last night and today. And that verse, the rabbis take, and we say that every Saturday night when we hold the candle of Havdalah, when we separate Shabbat from the rest of the week, we say that there should be light to come. And a name also for the Jewish people is Or Lagoyim. It is a light unto the nations. So this Eish Tamid, that God is tzaving, God is commanding, I love what you said, not suggesting, but commanding that the light shall not be extinguished. The temple's gone. As you said, we have a Western Wall. That's all we got. But we had to make a choice back. And the choice was Eish Tamid Lo Tichbeh. The choice that I believe we made as a people was that Eish Tamid, this fire will not go out. And all we had for 2,000 years was the hope of a light to be reignited. And the Torah, these words, only the words of God, was the only light that existed. Now, as we said earlier, we have the people, the state of Israel, that is an even more, a brighter light. And so this is 4 words, Eish Tamid, eternal light, Lo Tichbeh, do not extinguish. Right now, I believe the command is not to light it, but actually not to extinguish it.
It's so profound. And, Rabbi, you're probably not aware, but this particular portion of scripture several years ago really captured my heart and my attention, because I thought to myself, it's so easy to say, well, that fire has to burn there and it can't go out. But then when you begin to think about, well, what had to happen for that fire not to go out? Yes. There had to be put in place an entire system, right? You're in the middle of a desert. Where are you going to find wood? So fire is not going to, so you've got to have a wood finding troop. And then you've got to have people who are coming in the middle of the night. And then you've got to have a scheduler to make sure that this all happens. In other words, this relatively simple command must have then elicited a complex structure around it, a communal structure, so that took place. And it became incredibly inspirational to me. And I wrote a book called Keepers of the Flame.
Nice.
Unlocking the ancient secret of an acceptable sacrifice. And I wrote this book specifically off of this Tzav portion that we're in tonight. And most of you have this book, but if some of you don't, you can go, they'll put the link in, go to the Eagle's Wings. But I want to read to you, Rabbi, I want to read you the dedication of this book, because I was so captured by this concept of the eternal light that the Jewish people received as a call from Hashem. And so I just want to read this one portion here. I said, this book is dedicated to the Jewish people who throughout history, against all odds, and often at the greatest personal cost, have carried the testimony of the one true God in the earth. They have truly been keepers of the flame. And that's what we're hearing from Rabbi tonight. And Rabbi, I'm going to send you a copy of my book this week as a gift to you for Purim, and a thank you for being with us tonight. And folks, it's been amazing. Oh, there's my sister-in-law saying, my sister-in-law is telling everybody they have to read it. Thank you. Thank you, Samantha. I appreciate, my sister-in-law is my fan. Oh, but several of you are saying that they've read it over and over again. It's really, especially for a church community or a worship team or a prayer group, because it deals with, and let me just tell you this. I had this amazing experience. Folks, if you were not on yesterday's partners call, if you are a partner, we do a special once a quarter partners call. It was incredible. And we emailed, I think, we emailed all of our partners a copy of it today so you can watch the recording. But I met this week with the leadership of the Greek Orthodox Church of North America. I met with the Archbishop. And Rabbi, if you can believe it, this wonderful, godly man, he's, I think, in his 70s. He has never been to Israel.
Oh, wow.
And he's taking his first trip to Jerusalem this December. I got so excited.
Wow.
But we were talking about, and this is in Christian terms, we were talking about salvation and conversion. He was talking about how in the Muslim world right now, there really are many Muslims who are converting at great personal risk, at great personal cost, but they're converting to Christianity. But listen to what he said. He said, but when people convert, we don't let them convert until they find their parish, until they find their church home. Because you're not converting to an idea, you're converting to a people. So we don't allow your conversion to take place until we know where you're going to be planted, who your pastor will be, who will spiritually nurture you, where you're going to put down roots. Now, this flies in the face of everything that modern evangelicalism teaches, which I've been telling us is way off kilter for a long time. But what does it speak to? It speaks to the communal aspect of life with God. And Rabbi, that is what the Jewish people so powerfully, beautifully, and perseverantly display to the rest of the world. As the saying goes, the Jewish people, you punch way beyond your weight class. There's only 14 million of you, right? There's only 14 million of you. Why are you so influential? Why everywhere in the world do you find the Jewish people? Because you understand not only the power of faith, but the power of faith in community. And yes. I believe that Moses is laying this out for us here in Tzav. I believe Esther shows us that yes. in the Purim story. She's there. She's working with Mordecai. Do you say it was her uncle or her cousin? I've heard both. What?
It's a bit of both, depending on. It's not clear. It's not clear.
It's not clear. It was her relative. Yeah. All right.
Exactly.
We've all got that one relative that we're not exactly sure how we're related to. Yes. So we've all got one of them. But anyways, folks, it was just so powerful from the Greek Orthodox Archbishop. He said, well, they're not converting to a theology. They're not converting to an idea. They're converting to a people. And so we don't allow the conversion to take place until it happens in the midst of community. So, Rabbi, you've taken us beautifully tonight through Tzav. We've heard from you the power of passing this on to our children. You brought puppets tonight to help that happen. That's over the top. And, absolutely. What an incredible night we're having. And folks are chiming in on what a beautiful night it was. Well, Rabbi, we're going to wrap in just a second. Before we do, today is Thursday. Tomorrow night, everybody, we'll go live real quick for the Shabbat Brachot at 6. Tomorrow night is Josh and Liz Lively's album release. And that is at 6 or 7? 7 p.m. at the Tabernacle. So if you're in Western New York, join us there. They've just released a brand new, beautiful music worship album. That will be tomorrow night at 7 o'clock live at the Tabernacle. Sunday morning, I'll be preaching live at the tab.org. Go to the tab.org and view us online on Sunday. There's no Torah Tuesday this week, and we'll be back here next Thursday evening. So, Rabbi, just sum this all up for us and take us out with a closing thought.
I'm going to sum it up by talking about Hanukkah, if that's okay.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I heard a story about the shamash, which is the helper candle. And I heard the story actually in the sports world. In my other hat, if you're not aware, for those watching, you can check it out. I actually have a podcast called Rabbi on the Sidelines, which talks about faith in sports. And I'm speaking to people in the sports world that we see on TV that never talk about their faith publicly, but then all of a sudden you ask them what's in their soul and they open up. It's amazing.
Right.
And one coach, Sherry Levin, she's actually coaching the women's team in the U.S. Maccabi team in Israel this coming summer. And she went to Holy Cross, an All-American at Holy Cross. And she told her pep talk before the game. She said, be a shamash. A shamash is the light, the helper candle. And I said, why? And she said, because the shamash, the candle that helps others, even though it's giving light to the others, it never loses its own flame. It only transfers what they need. And I think when we go back to Eish Tamid, right? It's everywhere. Yep. It's in Purim, it's in Hanukkah, it's in your theology, it's in my theology. Yep. Eish Tamid. So take that flame that's within you. It can't stay inside here. It needs to go through whatever screen I'm looking at and you're looking at. And my prayer is that when we see each other next, it not only will not be extinguished, but it'll be brighter and brighter and brighter the next day.
Bizrat Hashem, Rabbi, absolutely. Thank you for your time tonight, sir. You are one of the good guys, and we honor you, we esteem, we appreciate. How do they find your podcast?
Yes, on YouTube, Rabbi on the Sidelines, or it's on any other Spotify, Apple Podcasts, etc. And it's actually just a weekly show now. I know you've been on the station as well. JBS, the Jewish Broadcast Service, every week, Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time and 4 p.m. Pacific Time.
Fantastic. Rabbi on the sidelines. So find that, folks, and be a part of that. Folks, it was so good to be together tonight. Rabbi, so great to see you. Everybody, I'm so excited. We're living in the days of Jerusalem-centered Christianity. We are rebirthing. We've had faith in Jesus. We're now learning the faith of Jesus, and we're understanding how to walk in the blessings of the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I'm so honored to be on this journey with you. Everybody remember, keep praying for the peace of Jerusalem. God bless you, everybody. Rabbi, thank you. Good night.